Welcome back everyone. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at day number 2 of the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championships. Now on day 1, I had a pretty uneventful start. I won in my first game with the white pieces against the 2200, followed by 2 draws with the black pieces. Now I rested in the 4th and final game of the day, but today I would go on to play all 4 games. Now we're going to pick it up with our first game of the day. I realize I have the wrong window showing. And in this 5th round of the event, I'm playing with the white pieces against the former British number 1, Michael Adams. Now, Michael Adams was ranked as high as number 4 in the world. He's someone who's a little bit past his peak now, but nonetheless a very formidable opponent who should not be underestimated. So I have the white pieces, and I open with the move c4, we get e5, and now I play this move a3. Now this is a sideline in the English opening when white pushes the pawn to a3. It's not so much there's a specific idea behind it, but it does stop certain black setups. For example, in the recently concluded World Championship between Ding Liren and Gukesh Domoraju, we saw the move knight c3 and Gukesh played the move bishop b4. So when white plays this move a3, you stop black from playing bishop b4 to target the knight. You can also play a move like b4 followed by bishop b2 to fianchetto the bishop and take some space on the queen side. Just to illustrate the point, you get some position like this. You have a little bit more space here with these pawns, and your bishop targets the pawn on e5. So I play a3. We get the move knight to f6, d3, and now we get the move g6. Now black could opt to play the move d5, and after pawn takes, knight to f3, and knight c6, you will notice that this actually resembles the Sicilian Najdorf with colors reversed. However, white does play the first move in chess, so white can play the move e4, and you get a very interesting reverse Sicilian. Now to show you exactly what I mean for those of you who are not familiar with the opening names, after e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4 takes, knight f6, knight c3, black can play the move a6, and this is what is known as the Najdorf defense. Now, notice here it is white's turn because white has played the first move, whereas in the game here with the position I just showed you, it's actually white's move, so white has gained an extra tempo, and white can play this move e4. Now, I'm not going to go into the nuances of theory behind this, but nonetheless, it is a very interesting position to play for both sides. Adams instead plays the move g6, trying to fianchetto the bishop to g7. I play knight f3, d6, b4, bishop g7, and now I play the move bishop b2. Now we have the bishops opposing each other here. We have this pawn structure of the 3 black pawns and white having these 3 central pawns. It's pretty balanced, but nonetheless I was very happy to reach this position because now it's a matter of developing your pieces and simply playing chess versus a game of theory. So we get castles. I play the move e3, trying to put the bishop on e2. I could try to play g3 to fianchetto the other bishop, but I thought it was a little bit slow here. I was worried about things like knight g4 and if bishop g2. There might be a trick with e4 here attacking the bishop and the knight, and I just wasn't sure if I could complete the development. Now, if I could get the bishop to g2, for example, and castle and do all of this, I'd be very happy with the double fianchetto, but I just wasn't sure, and in a rapid game, if you're not 100% sure, you should go for the simplest plan that's available. So, I play the move e3 to develop the bishop and castle the king. We get a5. I play knight bd2. We get takes, and now Adams trades the rooks and plays the move knight to a6, targeting this pawn on b4. Here I go bishop c3, guarding the pawn, and now we get the move queen e7. I play bishop e2, we get the move c5, and now I play this move pawn to b5. Now I do not take this pawn on c5 because after knight takes c5, suddenly the knight is jumping towards the center. If I were to castle here, black can play a move like bishop g4 or maybe even rook d8, and I just really like this knight on c5, and if I ever go d4, black can jump to e4 with this knight, and now the knights are very, very well placed. So I go b5. We get knight c7, and now I castle my king out of the center. Now, pretty much as soon as I played this move castles, I was a little bit worried that I had made a slight mistake. What I felt that I might have, or not might, but what I felt I should have probably played was queen to a7 here, stopping black from playing the move b6, because then I take the pawn. Now, after queen to a7, knight to e6, and just castles, it feels like white should be a little bit better here. White controls this open a file here. Black has this big problem with the pawn on b7, and honestly, I think this would be very hard to play. Now, the reason I mention that is because when I castle and Adams played the move b6, I was simply very unhappy here because now if I go queen to a7, Black has this move knight to d5 here. The knight guards the queen while attacking the bishop. And after takes, I saw the move rook to a1. And after bishop b7, I simply did not see a way to break through here. Now I saw rook to a7, rook to b8, and let's just say I play a move like h3. Black goes knight c8, attacking the rook. I have to go back, and after rook to a8 here, I'm going to have to trade the rooks. We're in an endgame. Black has no real weaknesses. It's very much a clogged toilet here. There isn't very much space for either side, and the game will be a draw. Now, what I missed in the game, and actually why I should have played queen to a7, is after bishop b7, white has the very nice in-between move, sacking the horse with knight takes pawn, and after pawn takes knight, there's rook to a7, creating the classic kebab on the 7th, attacking the bishop and the knight, and after rook to b8, guarding the bishop, now there's bishop takes e5, and suddenly the rook is exposed here. If you move the rook away, you lose the bishop. If you don't move the rook, you'll lose it, and the game as well. Now, had I seen this tactical idea, I almost certainly would have gone for this queen a7 move, and I think there's a very good chance I would have won this game very quickly after rook to a1, because here black has to play something like bishop d7, and after rook a6, knight to c8 here. Now white can play, I guess, a move like h3 or king to f1, let's just say h3, and black is not able to get the rook over. This knight is tied down guarding the pawn, and black has all kinds of issues. But instead, I play the move queen b2, we get the move bishop b7, and now as you'll notice, I have a big problem. The problem is black is going to contest this a file here, and it is the only open file on the entire board. Now, one of the things that you have to think about in chess at the higher levels is where do the pieces belong? Where is the harmony? Now, in this position, D's knights on d2 and f3 are simply misplaced. What I really need is a situation, just to set it up, where I have this knight on c3. And the main reason the knight on c3 is much better, of course, we'll ignore the exact situation. Let's just say we get this, is that in this situation, the knight on c3 can jump to d5, but there is also the a4 square available to target this pawn on b6. Now, this is very important here because when you look at this pawn on b6, I have no way of getting a horse to attack the pawn. This is the only square where I can attack this pawn, so my knights simply aren't well placed in the situation. That being said, it is still a game, and I play the move rook to a1. We get knight to e6 here, and now I play the move knight e1. If I were to go rook a7 here, black would go rook to a8, and after queen a1, queen to d8. It's going to be a very similar situation where black is going to trade, actually not go there, black's going to go queen b8, forcing the trade of the rooks, and again with the contested a file here, there's simply not a whole lot I can do, in particular because I cannot attack this pawn on b6 because I cannot get a knight to a4. So I go knight to e1. Now the reasoning behind this move is simply that when I look at the bishops here, this bishop on e2 is very passive. It's walled in by the pawns. There's a knight in the way, and black's bishop on b7 is very well placed. So I go knight e1. We get rook a8. Now I play bishop to f3, trading off black's good bishop for my very passive bishop that was on this e2 square, or the light squares. We get the move queen b7, and now I play the move knight to e1. Adams goes knight d7, and this is the start of going in the wrong direction, I felt. What I thought Adams should have played was the move knight to e8, simply protecting this pawn on d6, followed up by the move f5. Now, the reason I mention that is because after knight d7, now I go knight to e4, and black is still okay here, but it's starting to get a little bit tricky because the top computer line is to trade the rooks here and maybe play f5 because white cannot capture the juicer because after queen b8, it's uh-oh spaghetti-o time. All the squares are covered, you're going to lose the knight, and with it, you're going to lose the game as well. But if white plays this, white can move the knight back to g3, and in this situation, I have this queen that controls this open A file. We also have the double A battery on the diagonal as well, combined with the 90-degree right triangle. And just in general, when I look at this position, it feels very hard for black to play. So, I guess this is 90 degrees, the other one wasn't. Therefore, we get the move d5 from Adams. Now I play the move knight d6, queen b8, takes, and here I play the move knight c4. Now I have a temporary bastion here with the knight on c4, attacking the pawns on e5 and b6. I wasn't sure if I was much better here, but I felt that with the imbalance in the pawn structure and the fact that it's a rapid game, my chances of winning here were going up quite a bit. So we get e4. I trade the bishops, and now I go queen c2. Very important move here, because if I were to take the pawn, I lose the horse and the game. So I go queen c2, guarding the knight, but also threatening to take the pawn on e4. And now we get the move pawn takes pawn, knight takes, and here we got the move knight e6. Now, this position is very balanced. We have D's knights versus D's knights. It's a game of knights here. I didn't really think I was much better, but considering the black king on g8 and some dark square weaknesses combined with this knight being stuck guarding the pawn forever, I thought there was some practical chance to win. So I go f3. Adams plays h5, I play h4, and now we get the move queen to a8. Now, there's nothing wrong with this move, but it's a very tough situation for black because there's no obvious way to trade pieces, and if you play this move knight c7, which looks very logical, targeting the pawn on b5, after knight to f4, let's say queen to a8, I have knight takes pawn, for example, sacking the horse, and suddenly after king f8 and queen to d6, I'm gonna win one of these knights. So black does have to be very careful. There's no clear-cut plan, and queen to a8 is not necessarily a bad move per se, but it's going very much in the wrong direction. So I play knight to f2 here. Now, the logic behind knight f2 is to put this knight on e4, where it can jump to f6, g5, or d6, but also clearing a path for my queen to attack this horse on d7. Very important because this horse guards the pawn on b6. So now we get queen a1. I go king h2, we get queen f6, queen to e4, guarding the pawn, and now we get queen c3 back. Here I play the move queen to d5, and now Adams plays this move king to g7. Now, this is the first big mistake in the game here. The computer says after knight to f6, black is completely fine. In this position, my idea here was to play the move queen to d3, and I thought after takes, knight to d7, and a move like knight c to b2 followed by knight a4, maybe I could claim a very, very tiny advantage. It should be a draw, but the game goes on. Instead, we get king g7. And now after the move knight to e4, suddenly D's knights on c4 and e4 are covering all the critical squares here, and black already has to be very careful. So Adams goes queen to e1. Here I play the move knight to g3. I do not gobble the free horse on d7, because after takes, black does the yo-yo with the queen, and after check forever, the game is ultimately going to end in repetition, because black will just keep on checking ad infinitum. So I play knight g3, stopping the threat towards the pawn. Adams plays queen c3, and this is the fatal mistake. Now, the computer says after queen to b4 here, black is still in business because you attack the knight, but more importantly, you actually attack this pawn on b5 here. And if white plays knight e4 back, for example, there's queen to e1. And actually, if white goes knight d6, which is the move that I had in the game, it doesn't exist because after queen takes pawn, black checks the king, wins the knight, and wins the game. Now, this is very important because after queen c3, here I can jump with the horse to d6, and now black has to be extremely careful here to not just be losing. Now, Adams spends 2.5 minutes before playing this move knight to e5, which is in fact the only move to not lose on the spot. Adams actually came very close to touching his queen here. If he had played a move like queen to e5, offering the trade of the queens, there's knight to e8, checking the king, and then queen takes d7, the queen guards the knight, I have an extra pony here on the board, and the rest is very rudimentary. If black were to go queen to f6, there's knight to e8 check, forking the king and the queen, and if black goes queen e3, there's knight to f5 as well, sacking a horse, but winning the queen to boot. So there are a lot of forks, a lot of tricks here. Adams spent a lot of time, but to his credit, he found the only move to not lose instantly with knight e5. So I go knight e4. We get the move queen to b2, and now I play this move knight g5. Now, I did consider what is actually the top computer move, knight takes pawn, sacking the horse here due to the weaknesses of these knights, because if black were to go king f7, there's knight g5 check, black cannot take due to the pin, and after knight takes knight, white is simply winning the game. But the main reason I didn't seriously consider this is I saw that after knight takes pawn, there was knight takes f3, for example, due to the pin. And white, I guess, is okay here after king j3, knight e1, and queen to e5. But again, when your opponent is low on time and it's a low increment situation, not 30 seconds to be very clear, but like 5 or 10 seconds, in many cases, you aren't looking for the simplifications. You're looking for ways to keep pieces on the board because the chance of a blunder is far higher. So I go for this move knight g5. We get takes, Adams plays king g8, and this move loses because after check, king h7, I have this nice move knight to e4, threatening to box the king with knight f6 and queen g8 checkmate. Adams plays move king g7, which simply loses on the spot, but already here after knight to d7, which is probably the best move, I can go queen b7, creating the kebab with the queen on the 7th, and if black takes, I sack the queen, and then there's knight to f6, simply winning the game. So Adams plays Adams plays the move king g7. Now I go knight to f6. My queen guards the pawn while threatening to create the classic checkmate with the queen and the knight on g8 here. Adams takes, I take back, he goes queen b5, and after the move queen to a8, Michael Adams resigns because queen to g8 checkmate is simply unavoidable in the position. So I get a really big win in the first game of the day, and now we are going to move to the second game. Now the second round we were playing the leaders in the tournament, this is MGD1 team from India, and in this match I have the white pieces against Pentala Harikrishna. Now this might not be a household name, but Harikrishna was one of the most talented Indian juniors when I was up and coming. He's somebody that I played against many times in the World Youth type tournaments when we were just young kids, something like 25 plus years ago at this point. So he's someone that I'm very familiar with. Now Harikrishna, a little bit past his prime as well. He is no longer near his peak, which was 2760 once upon a time, but still a very formidable opponent. So I play e4. We get e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, and now we end up in this closed Spanish, which I played in Norway against Magnus Carlsen. We get b5, bishop b3, bishop b7, a4, rook b8, castles, and now I trade and go knight c3. We get the move d6, I play h3, we get h6, and now I play the move knight d5. Now you're wondering why am I going through this game so fast? The main reason is because I spent a little bit too long recapping the previous game, but also we reach a very standard position after takes, knight d4, takes, and the move rook e1. Now both sides have these doubled pawns here, one pawn on top of each other. It's like one each. You'll notice here that we both have weaknesses. This bishop on b3, very passive behind this pawn wall. That being said, the pawn on d4 can also potentially be attacked. So we got bishop f6. I play queen f3, king h7, rook to e4, and now we get the move rook e8. Here I play the move bishop to d2. Apparently rook takes e8 followed by queen to e4 would have been a very nice endgame here, but without knowing this is actually good, it's very hard to play. So I go bishop d2. Harikrishna plays bishop d7. I play rook to e1, and now we get the move rook takes e4. Now this move actually came as a big shock to me. It is not what I was expecting because after pawn takes rook, I have now undoubled these pawns. You'll notice that my pawns are unstacked, and I thought I should be much better. So Harikrishna goes king g8, I go queen d3, we get the move c5, takes, and now I play the move f4. Now, in this position, I was looking at the other matches, or the other games that were going on in the match, and I did not like the position that some of my teammates had, so I felt already here I had to start pushing. Now, apparently queen g3 is a better move, but f4 to me made a lot of sense because I'm trying to push e5 here, and as we'll see after queen c7 is played to stop this move e5, I now go g4 trying to thrust with my g-pawn. Now, the reason this move is so aggressive is that if black were to play a move like rook to e8, for example, I can go g5, takes, bishop e5, and now I have this nasty move g6 here, or with this long diagonal and the pin, I'm actually completely winning. So, we get bishop to h4. I play the move rook e2, get b4, and now I play the move bishop c4. Now, if I were to go g5 here, this would lose, because after bishop b5, it's spaghetti-o time. I'm going to lose the queen or the rook. So I go bishop c4, stopping the threat. We get queen b7, g5, and now we get the move d5. I take, Harikrishna takes, I take on d4, takes, and now we get the move rook c8. Now, what you will notice is that Harikrishna has played a great game. It feels like I'm putting a lot of pressure on him, but he has defended remarkably well, especially considering that he is getting a little bit low on time. So I go queen d3. Harikrishna takes, I take back, and now we get the move queen c7. Now this is the first move after which the game starts to turn a little bit where white might be better. I play the move queen to e4 here, trying to go after the bishop, and now we get the move queen c4. Here I take the pawn on b4, and now Harikrishna plays the move queen b5. Now at this point, this is still not much better for white. Black should probably trade and go bishop takes g5, and after the move c4, for example, black can now play f5, attacking the rook, and if I go c3, after I believe bishop c1, bishop a3, and rook b8 here, it's very hard for white to prove the advantage because it's going to be very hard to push these pawns, and after rook e2 and f5, black has a pass pawn coming up the board, and I think that the balance should remain. Instead, we get queen b5. Now I play the move g6. Very important move, by the way, because if I were to take the bishop, I would lose this rook on e2. So even though it looks like the bishop is free, all my pieces are also kind of loose as well. So I go g6. Harikrishna takes. I play the move bishop c3 here, guarding the pawn and lining up potentially a battery to checkmate the black king. We get the move rook to f8, and now I play this move queen to e5. Now, I do want to add one important caveat to this game, which I just realized and I had not mentioned earlier, is that around this point in the game, there was a large commotion going on one of the other boards right in my vicinity. Now, on board number 6, the captain of the team and the sponsor, Vadim Rosenstein, was playing against the board 6 of India, and there was this very strange situation where there was a claim of a touch move. The arbiters ruled that the touch move had not happened, the release of the piece hadn't occurred, and the players continued their game for about another 6 to 7 minutes before the arbiters stopped the game and said that in fact the player on my team had let go of the piece. Now, while all this was going on, there was a commotion, argument, complaints right around my board, and already at this point it was very difficult to concentrate because of what was going on in the situation. So we get the move queen b7. Here I play the move queen to e4, we get queen b5, I play king h2, and now Harikrishna blunders with the move bishop f6. Now what Harikrishna should have played was either bishop g5 or bishop d8, trying to set up checks on this diagonal to hit the white king on h2, because after bishop to f6, takes, in this position, I have a forced win after the move queen to e8, checking the king, and after takes, king f7, and rook c8, with the two connected pawns to push up the board here, white should be winning. But while all the commotion was going on, it was very hard to focus, and I simply played this move c4. Now, this move is a big mistake here, of course. I should have played queen to e8, because after c4, queen to b8, king g2, and king h7, even though I have these two connected passed pawns, my king is extremely weak on g2, and black's king is relatively safe with the two pawns guarding it. So I play queen h4, we do a little bit of repetition, and now I play the move queen d4 and the move h4. Harikrishna plays queen a8, I go queen e4, and now he plays move queen to a1, trying to line up some checkmate threats towards my king. I go rook f2, we get takes, king g3, check, king g4, and now Harikrishna plays move king h8. Here I go queen d5, we get queen to b4, and now I play this move pawn to h5. Now this is simply a very bad decision by me. When I played this move, I thought that in fact after takes and king takes h5, I would have some ideas to try and move the king and checkmate this black king in the corner pocket, but in reality I should have simply tried to bring my king closer to this pawn, because these pawns on g7 and g6 cannot go forward, they cannot become pass pawns, unlike what will happen in the game. So I play h5, we get takes, queen b3, I go king g6, check here, check, king e6, check, queen c7, eventually we get queen f6, king c5, and now Harikrishna plays move g5. Now this is the exact reason I should have left all the pawns on the king side, but alas, this is how it goes. So I go king b5, we get queen b2, king c5, queen f6, queen d7, and now we get the move queen f4. I go king b5, g4, c5, g3, c6, queen to f1, and now I play the move king to a5, and here I actually offer to draw to Harikrishna, mostly because the game should be a draw, but also because the commotion that I mentioned earlier was still going on by the board, and I think both Harikrishna and myself were simply fed up with everything. That'll probably be a topic for another day, but it was very, very hard to focus, and ultimately we both had enough, and so we agreed to a draw here. Now, the game could have continued with g2, but after queen to d4 checking the king, king to h7, and c7 here, the queen covers the check square on a1, it covers the queening square on g1. Meanwhile, my pawn on c7 is one square away from queening as well, so most likely what we'll get is queen takes, and now after c8 queen, both sides have a queen on the board, and there's no way to win. So a very disappointing game in a sense, because I had the one moment with queen d8 when I should have won. On the other hand, outside of that one brief moment, Harikrishna defended extremely well, and I was not actually better for most of that game, except for the brief moment. Unfortunately, this would also mean that my team would lose, because we lost 2 games, we won no games. Even though I had my chance and Alireza did, our team suffered a big loss, which was very disappointing. So now we are going to move on to the 4th and final game of the day. I should point out in the 3rd game of the day, I had another draw with the white pieces against Lenier Dominguez, my countryman from the United States, but we moved to the 4th game of the day, the 8th round of the tournament, and in this round, I'm playing against a 2388 player from, I believe, Kazakhstan. It could be Uzbekistan. Maybe it's Uzbekistan. I'm not actually sure. I get them confused, but it is a 2388 IM. Now, you might be seeing the rating thinking, what a weak player for you. You should beat him automatically. But there are a lot of talented young players these days, and you can never expect to automatically get a guaranteed win. So we get the move e4. I play c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and now I play the move d6. We get castles, knight f6, rook e1, and here I play the move bishop d7, we get c3, a6, and bishop f1. Now, one thing you'll notice here that's kind of funny is that after the move bishop g4, my opponent plays the move d4. Now, you might be wondering, doesn't this look vaguely familiar? And in fact, it does look familiar because this is the exact position that I had against Fabiano Caruana in the recently concluded Norway chess. Now, I actually had kind of like confused my lines here. This is not what I initially intended to do. So when my opponent played d4, I was already a little bit unhappy. So I trade pawns. And now I play the move d5. Now, the reason I play d5 is that if I were to play e5 here, of course, white can go for this line with d5, knight d4, and bishop e3, which I could have played against Fabiano. But of course, my opponent could also simply trade the pawns on e5 and play this knight c3 idea or something along these lines, very similar to my game against Fabiano. So I obviously didn't want that either, which means that I decided to play the move d5 instead. We got the move e5, and now I play the move knight d7, and apparently this move is a mistake. What I should have played according to the computer is knight g8, and the main reason for this is that after bishop to e3, e6, let's say white goes knight c3, here I can play knight g to e7 with the idea of knight to f5, and these knights will massively pressure these white central pawns. So I go knight d7. We get this move bishop to e3 here, and now I play e6. We get knight c3, bishop to f5. This is a move that I wasn't sure if I should play or not, but I felt that after bishop to e7, white can always play something like h3, bishop h5, bishop d3, and if I were to castle here, I thought that white could maybe play something like knight e2 and knight f4, or something like g4, bishop g6, takes, and something like queen d3, and I'm a little bit worried about this king here with the pawns. White can try to start attacking on the king side, and it just felt a little bit iffy. So I go bishop f5. We got bishop d3, takes, bishop e7, g3, castles, and now my opponent plays h4. Now this structure is very reminiscent of the king's Indian attack. White tries to push the p and hook the horse on g5 to create the checkmate threat, and now I go h6, stopping knight g5. We get the move king g2, and here I play the move queen to e8. Now you might be wondering, what on earth is queen to e8? The reason I played queen to e8 is that in this position, if white is given time to play a move like rook to h1, for example, b5, and knight to g5, maybe here it doesn't quite work, but at any rate, this is very, very scary. White is lining up these threats on the h file potentially. Maybe black is okay, apparently not, because here white can sack the rook, and after check, king g7, or king g8, I should say, queen to h6, white is going to go rook to h1 and simply checkmate with the double stack. So I have to be very quick, and that's the reason I play queen e8, which is that I need to play f6 or f5 on the next turn in order to avoid these checkmating threats on the king side. So we get the move bishop to f4. I go f5 here. I could have played f6, roughly the same thing, but because white has put the bishop on f4, I thought f5 made more sense. Now, I could have tried to play f5 right away here, but after knight to e2, queen e8, and knight f4, let's just say queen f7 and h5, the knight has this great bastion with the g6 square. There's a lot of pressure towards the center, and it looks really, really ugly. So I go f5 here because I figure the bishop's on f4, meaning white will need 1, 2, 3 moves to get the horse here, and my opponent recaptures. Now, for posterity, what I should have played was actually f6, and we would have reached the same position, because after f5, the computer does say that knight to e2 would be better for white. So we get takes. Now we get rook e2, and here I go queen to f7, rook e1, and now I play the move rook to f8, lining up the legendary triple stack on the file, also known as Aliekin's gun after the former world champion. So I get the gun here on the f file. White does have a knight, a bishop, and a pawn, but nonetheless, as you guys can tell from the valuation bar, I am already a little bit better. So we get queen d2. Now I play bishop b4. Note, however, that my moves, I'm playing very quickly here. I'm trying to put pressure on the clock because I don't really have a whole lot to think about. Now, when I go bishop b4, my idea potentially is to reroute my knight to e7 and g6, but also it's that after bishop to b4, I can go knight b6, knight c4, and use these pins on the file, or on the diagonal as well. So we got knight h2. Now I play knight b6. My opponent goes bishop e3. At this point, he's struggling. He doesn't have a clear-cut plan, and his clock is running. So he plays bishop e3 back, and now I go knight c4, queen d3. And here I spent 7.5 minutes before playing knight e3. And the reason is that I actually need to be careful. If I play a quiet move like b5, for example, white can go f4, and suddenly I no longer have a way to open up the center with e5. These two pawns cover the square, and even though black is still better, the show goes on. So I spend a lot of time looking at knight to e3. I also consider this move e5, but after takes, rook to f2, and king h1, knight e5, I thought I was better in this position, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I go for knight e3, we get takes, and now I play the move bishop d6 here, and the point is very simple. I still can infiltrate by creating the kebab on f2 with the triple stack, and my bishop spies the pawn and the knight as well. We get e4, I play rook f2, we get to move king g1, and now I sack the horse with knight takes pawn, because after queen takes knight and bishop takes g3, you'll notice that this triple stack is crashing through. The bishop is targeting the knight. If white were to move the knight, for example, I can go rook f1 check, king g2, queen f3, king h3, and after bishop f4, it's simply checkmate. The king has no squares available. So my opponent plays king h1, the last attempt here to save the game, but now I can temporarily sack the rook with rook takes knight, takes, bishop takes e1, and now I simply have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, white has 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm up 2 pawns, I have checkmate ideas with queen f1, and now the game is effectively over. My opponent plays rook g2, I take the pawn, we get takes, bishop to f6, stopping any checkmate threats towards the pawn on g7 here. We have queen e4, I take the knight, take the pawn, and at this point with 3 extra pawns, it's more about making sure my opponent gets no counterplay than it is about finding the quickest win. We get queen to e5, queen f1, king h2, and now I play the move queen to f4, forcing the trade of the queens. My opponent resigns instead of trading the queens because with 3 extra pawns, there is simply no way for my opponent to survive. So I get a nice win in the 8th round of this event, 4th and final game of the day. I did play all 4 games. I finished with 2 wins and 2 draws. It's a reasonable result. So for me, I'm fairly happy. Unfortunately, the team is struggling a little bit in this event. We haven't had great results. That being said, we are only 1 match point out of first place. So if we win all 4 of our matches on the final day tomorrow of the rapid portion, we could still emerge as the overall champions in this rapid portion. So, exciting day, a lot of fun games. I would have loved to have covered more. This video is already running near 30 minutes. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this recap from day number 2 of the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championship being held here in London. I will add, because someone did ask this in the initial, or in some comments from yesterday, I do want to point out that this event is being held near the Hammersmith Station in London, because I saw someone asking that question. So it's being held near the Hammersmith Station for anybody who's wondering. Once again, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and we'll be back with a recap after day number 3, the final day of the rapid portion of this FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Team Championship being held here in London. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day, and see you very soon. Bye.